Hello everyone and welcome to some more brand and makeup history. I found a journal called the Drug and Cosmetic Industry and it is fascinating. Such a treasure trove of makeup resources and little tidbits of makeup history that have long been forgotten about. I'm trying to get my hands on some of the older issues. It's a work in progress because this journal has existed for many decades. And I feel like it's a really good place to do some digging, to do some research. And while I was researching something else, I came across this article called The New Cosmetic Entrepreneurs. This is an article from 1995, so I thought it would be fun to look at where those brands are now 25 years later. So the author of the article, Susan Sargison, a marketing consultant, industry analyst, researched and reported on the growth of professional makeup artist brands. So in this article, 12 brands are discussed, and I will be talking about all 12 of these brands. So I anticipate that this is going to be a long video. However, I'm not going to go very in depth on each brand because I feel like a number of these brands deserve their own video, their own look into their specific part of makeup history. Some of them, there really isn't a whole lot to talk about. So I'm trying to strike a balance between what was reported in the article and then talking about now, but I will be relying a little bit on some common knowledge that I'm assuming people have because some of the brands are very well known and very popular. So I won't be going too far into detail. However, if any of these brands spark interest and you would be interested in hearing more, definitely let me know and I can make a list of priorities for brands to research because I really do enjoy these videos. And this was such a treat to discover this article because there were brands in here that I hadn't heard of and I found out a lot of pretty cool things. So I will be quoting some parts from the article, but I wanted to be able to keep myself on track, which is why I have my many pages of research here. So in 1995, the trend for color cosmetics, or the emerging trend that was noticed, was brands that were created by makeup artists. So these are new cosmetic industry pioneers and entrepreneurs. The product marketing has moved from the conference room to the hands-on leadership of company founders still working with product every day, an approach that keeps them vitally connected to the end user, responsive to consumer needs, and able to respond quickly with products and shades. Sounds familiar. Bobbi Brown has been quoted elsewhere as saying, "Who would you rather have design your makeup? A makeup artist or an MBA?" Benefit co-founder Jean Danielson puts it another way. "What comes out of our heads goes right on the counter." So there are a variety of brand philosophies, with some brands focusing on a neutral color palette, some exploring more vibrant, colorful options. The common thread between all of these makeup artist brands seems to be higher pigment because it really was created by a makeup artist with makeup artist intentions in mind. Some products specifically for MUAs to use and some for consumers, which may be kind of toned down a little bit or aimed towards a consumer with more knowledge and background in makeup. Packaging was generally pretty simple. You would see a lot of black, simple packaging, a lot of see-through caps so you could see what the colors or the shades of the products were. Just very simplistic, nothing very adorned or heavy, just very classic, easy to use and easy to store items. One thing I found interesting that was noted in this article is marketing tactics were very different at this time. Most of these brands did not advertise. There were no gift with purchases, products with purchases, or seasonal shade promotions. I want you to remember that for when we talk about some of these brands because boy, have things changed. But they found that key strategies hinged on customer education. So they dealt with more of a hands-on approach, usually focusing on educating their customers on how to best effectively use their products. You often saw these brands launching in higher end department stores. Examples from the article were Barney's, Henry Bendel, Bergdorf Goodman, and specialty stores like Neiman Marcus, Saks Fifth Avenue, in Nordstrom. So I think that's pretty true to now, depending on what the brands are. But I just thought that that's where these brands were being launched, and this is where a lot of the focus was going, so that they could really dedicate time and focus on the interactions with their consumers. Most of the makeup artists behind these brands didn't really see themselves as competition for big brands, but yet that's exactly what they became. So there's a quote from the Lorac founder Carol Shaw, says, "They're watching us now," they being the mainstream large beauty brands. "They realize the products we have to offer are beginning to appeal to their customers. I find they are mimicking us because they see we are more tuned in to the customer and to her real needs." I thought that was interesting as well. So I have a list of all of the brands in alphabetical order, so I'm just going to go through them all. The first one is Benefit. So the motto of the brand at the time was, "Who says makeup has to be serious to be good?" So the founders of Benefit, Jean Ford Danielson and Jane Ford Blackford, were twin sisters who were models. So they were actually Calgon models back in the 70s. They opened their first boutique in 1976, and at the time it was known as The Face Place. So that is what Benefit turned into. I think some people might be familiar with the San Francisco history of Benefit. I didn't know much about the people who launched it themselves, so I found that was interesting. From the beginning, their focus was fun products that solved problems and answered needs, coupled with priority on customer service, aka teaching them how to apply certain products. At this time, Benefit had over 100 different shades of lipstick. Their packaging was very simple, plain packaging that really wasn't anything flashy or fancy. And the products were classified as being prestige lower tier. So you had lipstick that cost $10, mascara $11, and liquid foundation for $16. As of the time of this article, 1995, they had revenue of $4 million plus, and they were only in 11 stores. So they were doing pretty well on their own. Now, interestingly, they have completely eliminated lipsticks. They don't sell a single lipstick right now. Mascara is now $25, up from $11. Now, this is all US dollars as well. And foundation goes for $30, although it's really not their focus. Their focus has become brows and the brow bar. So they still are providing that service, but it's less about teaching the customer how to do their own brows, but actually doing customer brows. But yet there is still some of that teaching aspect that I feel like they have retained with the brow aspect, not with the other parts of their makeup. They were acquired by Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy, LVMH, in 1999, and that is still their parent company today. A lot of their products have decreased in popularity, and I think that's why a lot of them are being eliminated, and they're really honing in a focus on brows, with still some of their bronzing products, but I feel like that has declined. I feel like it really hit sort of like a social media peak with the Hoola bronzers and then sort of dipped off a little bit, and even some of their blushes. I just really feel like they're kind of rebranding a little bit. They've been rebranding their packaging from what they've gone through a few different incarnations basically, and I feel like they had a few moments where they were kind of cheesy and seemed more aimed towards like a younger audience, and now it feels like they're trying to regain some of that, their older fan base again, and they're making their products look a little bit sleeker. But I don't think a brand like Benefit would be included on a list like this today. Next is Bobbi Brown Essentials. This is the namesake brand of Bobbi Brown. So this was really a minimalistic kind of brand, and sometimes referred to as a beauty minimalist. Bobbi Brown has an understated approach to makeup that has resulted in a line of wearable colors specifically designed to complement and enhance natural skin tone. So to quote Bobbi Brown, "We sell makeup that accents a woman rather than covering her up." So this is definitely the Bobbi Brown makeup philosophy, the way that she approaches makeup, and her line reflected that. There wasn't a lot of flashy colors. Everything was really simple and minimalistic. So she started by creating lipsticks just for herself, things that she felt like was missing. She was creating things that she was wearing, that she was using, and then it spread by word of mouth, and there was such a high demand that she ended up launching. So she launched 10 lipstick shades in 1991, and on the first day sold 100 lipsticks. but she still kept her line very simple. It wasn't a whole lot of product, and at this time she only had a handful of skincare things, and I feel like Bobbi Brown, the brand, is almost more known for their skincare angle and some of those skincare products than some of their makeup things. Lipstick cost $15 and was very simple, named beige, brown, pink. It was everyday makeup. Liquid foundation was $35, and it was considered to be prestige middle tier, and it was sold in about 40 stores at the time of this article. Now, Estee Lauder purchased Bobbi Brown in 1995. Bobbi Brown was a hugely successful brand for Estee Lauder, but it has since declined in sales. So Bobbi Brown herself stepped away from the brand in 2016, and they have a creative director, Jacob Dashik, who is also the creative director of La Mer. It's very true of Estee Lauder, moving away from a makeup artist angle and into a suit. So that's sort of the direction that Estee Lauder has really pushed the Bobbi Brown line into, and Bobbi Brown makeup sales has decreased, but skincare sales have increased. This is a common thing with Estee Lauder products. I was digging through some of the financial reports and looking for stats, and even before everything that happened with the pandemic in 2020. So in 2020, there was really big spikes of skincare sales. So that increased, and a lot of brands that sold makeup really saw a decrease, especially for certain categories like lipstick. I saw one stat that said lipstick sales decreased by 21%. It's pretty substantial because of how people's needs have changed. But Bobbi Brown makeup sales were already declining. Same with Estee Lauder makeup sales, because they're not really bringing in new consumers. Bobbi Brown, Estee Lauder, very classic, simple brands that seem to attract customer loyalty. So the same people who will buy a Bobbi Brown foundation will continue to buy a Bobbi Brown foundation as long as they're purchasing makeup. The problem is they're not seeing as many new people come in, and eventually people are dropping off. They're not wearing makeup for whatever reason, so they're not seeing as much come in. They're not taking the social media route like a lot of other brands, and because they are so simple and uncomplicated, it doesn't attract the flashy influencer personalities. They don't seem to do a lot of like the sponsored content or obnoxious amounts of PR. So it just doesn't attract the people who have the large audiences. So you're not seeing a younger consumer base moving into the brand. That's not to say that people aren't going to the brand, but really the focus of the brand, even when it launched, was to appeal to more of an older woman. It wasn't appealing to like the young and trendy, so to speak. It's definitely more of a prestige higher end right now, because you have lipsticks that are $38, $32 foundations, an average price of $50 for a foundation. So you're no longer in that lower tier either. So you do kind of alienate some of those consumers that may be attracted to higher end products, but still have to stay within a certain price range or budget. The next brand is Lorac, so founded by Carol Shaw. Lorac is Carol spelled backwards. So Carol was a Los Angeles-based makeup artist, and she found that a lot of the makeup was irritating, artificial, didn't last, and offered colors unlike any found in nature. So initially she created it for herself because she had ultra sensitive skin, and she wanted products that wouldn't irritate her skin and that she could also use on her clients. But she really was thinking more about what she wanted and what she needed rather than creating specific things for consumers, more thinking of like a makeup artist's perspective. So at this time she only had about 100 total products, so that includes like the various shades of different colored products like lipstick, and really focused mostly on face and lip color. Eyeshadows weren't being launched until fall of 1995, so eyeshadow wasn't even a thing for Lorac at the time of this article. So Lorac lipsticks cost $18.50 and liquid foundations was $33, and they were only in 8 stores, planning to do a really slow rollout. So interestingly, lipsticks are the same price now. Foundations have only increased to $38, so just a really minor increase in prices. But eyeshadows became a really big thing with palettes ranging from like $35 to $60. And there really was a huge wave of Lorac eyeshadow palette success. I remember lusting over the Lorac eyeshadow palettes because so many people were using them and talking about them. This would have been somewhere around 2014. 2015 was probably hype. I think like 2014, 2015. I really think that was like the hype for the like pro palettes. And then they just dropped off. And they're actually trying to rebrand and move away from social media. This is becoming a common theme with brands. They have like their moment of success and then they don't like what they had to deal with when it came to marketing or social media and influencers. So they're trying to break away from that. And Lorac is actually trying to rebrand a little bit. That was their intentions for 2020, which kind of got derailed a little bit, but they're still hoping to rebrand and return to focusing more on higher end clientele, makeup artists, and focusing less on social media and pulling away from that, which is probably also why they've had less of a presence on social media, because they are definitely intentionally trying to distance themselves. It isn't that they're being left behind, is that they are leaving on their own accord. So I find that interesting. It'll be interesting to see what direction they go in, if they're able to kind of reinvent themselves and almost reinvent themselves to how they originally were. So I'm curious to know what the future will hold for Lorac for sure. The next brand is MAC, which was founded in Canada in 1985. So Frank Toscan really wanted more highly pigmented products and a wide variety of colors and finishes. So he really saw an angle to go in with MAC. By 1995, MAC was already really well established. In 1994, their sales were about $70 million for the US, Canada, and the UK. Now, Estee Lauder in 1995 purchased 51% of MAC. This is interesting because I'll talk about it in a minute about what happened to the rest, the other 49%. But MAC was basically responsible for the matte lipstick trend of the 90s. They were the reasons why it became so popular, and their shades were some of the most popular lipstick shades of the 90s. They really had that simple packaging, simple minimalistic like black packaging with the see-through caps for like their eyeshadow and their blushes so you can see what their colors are. They really haven't changed much from that. They also really wanted to focus on the consumer angle of helping their customers apply makeup, giving them advice on what worked best for them, not trying to oversell products to them. I found an interesting quote that said, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't think I have it written down, but it was like, if you oversell to a client and it's products that they don't actually like or will use, then you don't actually have a consumer anymore because they won't come back. And I thought that was really interesting, and I feel like that's kind of true of MAC. Now, I know other people have their own issues with MAC and probably might have had bad customer service experiences. I definitely have. There's always that, it's almost like a joke now about how bad MAC customer service is, but I've definitely noticed a difference. And if you haven't been in a MAC store in a while, it's a whole different universe than it was a few years ago. So just thought I'd mention that. So their pricing in 1995 was like $13 for lipstick, $12 mascara, $18 for foundation. They had the Viva Glam lipstick campaign that at this point had already raised $2.5 million to fight AIDS. They encouraged recycling, so they had the Back to MAC program, which they allowed people to return 6 products in order to get a free lipstick in return. This is something they still do, although I'm not sure if it's currently running during COVID. So if you try to return things, I'm not sure if you can right now, but this does still exist. And they also sold cruelty-free beauty t-shirts, where the proceeds were donated to fund research into alternative test methods, because Toscan really proclaimed his opposition to animal testing. So most of us probably know now that MAC is one of the most well-known brands that is not cruelty-free. That is because they are owned by Estee Lauder completely at this point. In 1998, Toscan sold the remaining 49% to Estee Lauder. This was after the passing of his partner and co-founder of MAC. So he just didn't want to have ties to the brand anymore. And Estee Lauder have managed to keep really the core of MAC, because it really hasn't changed much. in terms of how their products are, how they approach sales, how they handle things like the Viva Glam and the Back to Mac. Now, the cruelty-free thing obviously completely disappeared because Estee Lauder products in general, I don't know if every single brand does, but I know a lot of them do sell in mainland China, which means that their products have to be tested on animals. The whole cruelty-free thing is very complicated, and it's very complex when you look at what brands are cruelty-free and why they are, why they aren't, what the rules and regulations are for each brand, and everybody has their own definition of what cruelty-free means to them, because some people will not support a brand that is owned by a parent company that is not cruelty-free, and some people will. So anyway, that's probably the biggest, most glaring difference, was just how adamantly cruelty-free they were at the beginning and how they are now known as one of the biggest brands that is not cruelty-free. So their lipstick prices have gone up $24 instead of $13. Foundation is now around $40. See, a lot of these brands now have a variety of different products. They don't just have like one foundation. They have a variety which tend to go for various prices. So just approximately 40, because some are less and some are more, US dollars again. So I think MAC is definitely one of those brands that deserves its own video. There's so much to explore there. Now, I find it interesting that a lot of people think MAC isn't successful. And that is because they don't see people talking about MAC anymore, or not as many people. It depends on who you watch. Let's just use YouTube specifically for an example. If you're watching cruelty-free YouTubers or people who are specifically aiming towards being cruelty-free, you're not going to come across MAC. So it depends on who you're watching. Some people have different tastes as well, and a lot of people with larger followings do stick a lot to the things that they receive for free or brands that they are working with. And MAC doesn't seem to really do a whole lot of partnerships. Like, they do collabs and they have done influencer collabs, but they don't seem to do a lot of sponsored videos that I've come across or send out a ton of PR. So it kind of keeps them away from some of the like larger audiences. That also, some of the influencers are younger as well, so they're discovering newer brands and they're not loyal. So someone who maybe grew up with MAC and really likes MAC formulas would be a little bit more loyal and would use MAC a little bit more. So it really depends on that. MAC is estimated to have earned about $1 billion last year, so they're fine. You know, Estee Lauder brands, the figure that I came across for the last year was around $15 billion. They're doing okay. They're doing okay, you know? I think MAC will survive. Just because you don't hear it talked about doesn't mean that it's not successful, and I really think MAC is a great example of that, is that they are still doing incredibly well with a lot of their products. So anyway, topic for a future video. This is going to be a long one, I told you guys. So Makeup Forever is the next one. Makeup Forever is one that probably a lot of people are familiar with right now. They have a range of products for theater, for movies, for television. They are made for professionals, but also for the regular consumers. They're made for performers, they're made for actors, and there's a lot of different formulas there that are meant to withhold a lot of different scenarios. They had 100 shades in 3 different finishes for eyeshadow and blush. At this time, they had their iridescent star powder and the aqua color, which was the face and body paint. They kept with that simple, basic black packaging with prices that were around the prestige middle tier of $16 lipsticks and $24 foundations. So the founder, Danielle Sands, was for 13 years the director of the Christian Chauveau makeup school in Paris. So she opened a Makeup Forever boutique in Paris in 1985. So that store at this point was the creative epicenter. But then the line was imported into the US and was sold in 41 stores as of 1995. And of course now it's sold pretty much everywhere. You can find it everywhere. And it has done fairly well. And I feel like this is one brand that has managed to mostly stay away from drama while still be very successful. People are very happy with the foundations especially, which now go for around $50. So definitely higher end than where they were before at $24. Of course, you know, of course products are going to go up in price, that's expected, but I feel like when it doubles in price, that's a pretty big jump. But I feel like that has been the Makeup Forever model, is to be that sort of middle high range. And because it has that professional sort of stamp of approval, they have their own academies. A lot of Makeup Forever products are included when you would do like cosmetology courses. I know when I was researching one, the products that they gave you as the kit was all Makeup Forever products. I feel like they've really established themselves as that sort of professional brand. It's often what I see people say that they're using for like special event makeup. People wear Makeup Forever foundation for prom, for their wedding. You know, it has that reputation. So I feel like it's really held true, and they've managed to adapt with the social media, but not become overrun by it. They haven't changed who they are by having to adapt to social media. So I feel like they're one that's probably going to be around for a long, long time. And they were acquired by LVMH in 1999 as well, and they are still owned by them, but I don't feel like they've ended up being swayed by them. So like Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy is a very high-end luxury parent company. They own a lot of luxury brands. Makeup Forever doesn't really fit in with that, and I feel like they are using that to their advantage, and they're not changing and trying to make Makeup Forever more bougie or like high-end, unattainable. It is the same way that it has been for many, many decades now. The next brand is NARS, which is very interesting that it's included in this article because it really hadn't fully launched yet at this point. So it was scheduled to be launched in late May at Barney's, 13 Barney stores in the US in May of 1995. It was a new creation by celebrity makeup artist Francois NARS, which stresses simplicity. So the line at this point was supposed to be uncomplicated, uncluttered, yet glamorous. A comprehensive face, eye, lip collection. So this was supposed to include more products because the year previous to that, there was only 12 lipsticks. This is a pretty common thing for brands where they do almost a soft launch, where they do like one line and kind of test it and see. And a lot of the times with brands, at this point, it seemed to be lipstick, or now you see more eyeshadow palettes. But so they had 12 lipsticks that launched in 1994, which were very successful, which led to the entire brand sort of forming officially and launching in late 1995. So packaging was unique, black rubberized material, decorated with wraparound white letters, capital letters, NARS. This was expensive, kind of the upper range of prestige brand pricing at $19 for lipsticks and mascara and $37 for foundation. The brand's target demographic was modern, fashion-aware women of any age. So NARS said that he liked to emphasize being real and proclaimed that makeup should not be a mask. Quote, "I take a girl and make her look more beautiful as an individual." And I feel like NARS is really well known now, and it is a staple, and again, for the most part, has avoided controversy, but I feel like Makeup Forever is almost like drama-free. I know there's like a few like minor scandals, but nothing that really tainted them. NARS was hit when they decided to sell in mainland China and then lost their cruelty-free status. Now they were owned by Shiseido since 2000, which is not cruelty-free, so their parent company was not cruelty-free anyway. So when they made the decision to sell in places that required animal testing for money, it really kind of backfired on them a little bit. So this was a couple of years ago, and people did not respond positively to it, but it hasn't hurt their sales. Their sales have increased. So they did it for money. They seemed to weigh the pros and cons, and it worked out for them. They did go a real scandalous route with some provocative shade names, which came later, like Orgasm. Blush is called Deep Throat, doing really suggestive and sexual marketing and getting people to talk about it. And that was intentional. That was all part of the game plan for them, was that they wanted people to talk about the products and giving things that were really wearable for a variety of people. That's why Orgasm became so successful. I think this is how I found this article, now that I'm thinking about it, was because I was researching the history of the Orgasm blush and that line. And it was really a versatile product that works for such a variety of skin tones and types and ages, just a very flattering in general shade. And that's why it was successful, but also because the name was like a little scandalous and it made people have that sort of association with the product. So they knew what they were doing with the shade names, and NARS still is tied to making those shade names, and they're very thoughtful. And I feel like I know some people, so I'm trying to find the way to word this, because I know some people don't like the suggestive names, but I feel like they're more of a classy suggestive as opposed to like in your face, like some of the Urban Decay ones that are just kind of, you know, not great. But I feel like, you know, there's nothing wrong with saying orgasm, so that's what the blush is. I know that was like one thing that was on my wish list for the longest time because I saw it in the magazines. It was in teen magazines because it was like slightly scandalous, but not overtly so. And they have adapted to social media. They work with influencers. They partner. They do sponsored videos. So they kind of keep in it, but they aren't controlled by it. So again, I'd say that they're similar to some of those other more popular brands that I've talked about as well, and one that probably will withhold the test of time, although, you know, time will tell. This is interesting because, you know, this brand had not officially launched by the time of this article, but they just believed that it was going to be successful. Now the next brand, this is called R.Jermain, user-friendly, high quality at a popular price. So this was created by a makeup artist named R.Jermain. So this was supposed to be for fashion-conscious women shopping in the middle range of stores. So this was supposed to launch in 1995, and R.Jermain was a TV and movie makeup artist for over 20 years, and he kept identifying products that he wanted, but they didn't exist, so he decided to make them. So he had his own line of eyeshadows and lipsticks and blushes, and had about 200 different shades of these different colored products. And the packaging was an interesting black jade with silver accents. I want to find this so badly. I couldn't find any trace of this. I was really interested. I was like, what does this look like? And I was doing my Google searches and I couldn't find anything. I found a couple of newspaper articles that mentioned it, and I was really stuck. I haven't been able to find any images because it's like this brand just doesn't exist. I even searched some of like the reselling sites. I was like combing like Etsy and eBay and seeing if anybody was selling like even just the packaging, because I wanted to see it and potentially even buy it just to have like a piece of makeup history. I would love to have a makeup collection. Like, I will never be Lisa Eldridge wealthy, but her makeup collection and the stuff that she owns is unreal. And I would just like, I'd love to have like a handful of things. I can't find anything. But I did some searching. I was like, well, who is R.Jermain then? I was like, who is this guy? Why does this brand not exist anymore? What happened? And then I found that he was a makeup artist for a lot of like 70s kind of TV shows. And then right around the time that this launched, he became the makeup artist for a little show known as the Drew Carey Show. I laughed for about a straight hour when I discovered that Mimi's makeup artist had a makeup brand. Are you kidding me? Missed opportunity. Who would not buy blue eyeshadow from this man? Okay, maybe a lot of people. Maybe that's why it failed, because there's nothing about it, but I have to believe that being the makeup artist behind this iconic look would haunt you for the rest of your life. Shortly after the Drew Carey Show, he did a few other things related to Drew Carey, like Whose Line Is It Anyway, and then seems to have retired because I couldn't find any more information into like the 2000s. But I would be buying blue eyeshadow. Are you kidding me? Oh my god, like this is iconic, and I can't believe this exists, and you're welcome. Your life has been changed now forever. You will never unknow this, that the man behind Mimi had a makeup line. It's so funny. It's so funny to me. Anyway, so this brand doesn't exist anymore, but was speculated as being a brand that would have potentially have been a big makeup artist brand, but then didn't. And it's probably the curse of the blue eyeshadow. So the next brand is a brand called Senna. So it's S-E-N-N-A. It's a studio/salon brand. So this was founded by Eugenia Weston, who started behind the counter and then attended cosmetology school and claims to have been the first licensed makeup artist in California. So she became frustrated with colors offered by major cosmetic companies and began customizing her own colors. So she founded Senna Cosmetics in 1976. So this is interesting. This is almost 20 years later that this is in this article. Her products were distributed to 10 different company-owned studios and boutiques in Southern California and 35 beauty salons across the US. So the main thing about this brand was eyebrows. One of the biggest things they did was do people's eyebrows. The Senna concept of individualized beauty is based on the belief that every woman has her own individual beauty trademark, best discovered with the guidance of a professional who selects a natural color palette and teaches professional application with the right kind of tools. So, one of the biggest products that she had was a patented Form a Brow stenciling kit. And the brow products bear a striking resemblance to another California-based brow brand, Anastasia Beverly Hills. The Anastasia was a client of Eugenia Weston. Anastasia copied a lot of Eugenia's brow ideas and concepts. I have never heard of this brand before. This brand still exists. It's still chugging along, but with a very, very minor following. I don't know what happened exactly, but this brand should have been what Anastasia turned out to be, or at least what Anastasia began as when that brand launched a few years later. I was floored when I discovered this and I started doing research, and I was like, why is nobody else talking about this? Something weird happened. Something really weird happened between Senna and ABH, between Eugenia and Anastasia. I did find like one tweet from like Eugenia at some point where it was like, she said something about, oh, she's copying somebody else now, is she? Or something really like petty and passive aggressive. It was really beautiful. I want to do a little more digging on this because I'm fascinated. I'm absolutely fascinated that ABH became this global, massive, super successful brand with like the biggest social media presence. And it seems like the original concept was not original. So anyway, I wanted to share that because, again, very interesting tidbits from this article, and I never would have come across that brand otherwise. Even though it still exists, it's such a small brand, and it's not something that I feel like most people would look twice at because it just looks like everything else. But yet, it was one of the original brands. It was very influential for the time and for what it was doing compared to the brands that became popular following it. This video is going to be so long. I'm going to breeze through the next couple. Shu Uemura is one that I want to do its own dedicated video for. Shu Uemura was founded in 1972 by Shu Uemura, a makeup artist. This was a brand that was important to bring out the inherent beauty in every woman and aimed at all races, genders, and ages. So it had a wide variety of products. At this point, there was thousands of products, from makeup to skincare to perfume to brushes. I feel like the things that come to mind for me first when I think of Shu Uemura are the cleansing oil and the brush curler. It's like, you know what I mean when I do this. The brush curler. So they were sold to L'Oreal in 2004. And it still kind of has kept sort of an indie luxury appeal despite not being an indie brand. Still a luxury brand, and the prices have gone up a lot. Like in 1995, the foundation was only $20, when now it's $60, sometimes higher. It's very, very pricey, and I feel like it has a very established reputation. I feel like nobody really talks poorly about Shu Uemura. You never really hear people like criticize it. You never hear people talk about them being tacky or selling out or taking advantage of certain tactics. And I just feel like it's a very drama-free brand once again. And I think it'll be interesting to do a little bit more of a deep dive into this and sort of Shu Uemura as a makeup artist and his history there. So we won't go too much into that, but I do feel like they've kind of maintained their reputation. Stila is the next one. Very confused by this one, but Janine Lobel is not interested in having something for everyone. Stila doesn't make a teal eye pencil because it does nothing for anyone. Okay, Stila. Stila had face, eye, and lip colors in really unique packaging. So matte black lipstick tubes, eyeshadow, eyebrow, and blush pots made of 100% recycled paper. Inside were quotes from famous women. The packaging lettering looks as though it were typed on an old-fashioned manual typewriter. this kind of Stila is long gone. And I feel like Stila has really gone through an identity crisis. They really don't seem to know what they want to be. Do they want to be cute? Do they want to be classy? Do they want to be sexy? Do they want to be trendy? I feel almost similar Tarte kind of vibes from Stila in that they just don't know what they want to be aesthetically. Also, I can relate, but I don't really like the direction that Stila is in. Self-read, maybe. They were once owned by Estee Lauder, and then Estee Lauder ditched them, and now they are with Patriarch Partners, which is a private equity firm, and they've been with them for a while. But this is a private equity firm that also has aerospace, industrial tech. They have Jane Cosmetics and Dana Fragrances as their other sort of relatable, comparable brands in their portfolio, which are not successful. And I don't feel like anybody there really knows what to do with Stila. And I feel like Stila needs to revert back to how it was before. So Stila had that surge of popularity with their eyeshadow palettes. I feel like they had a bit of luck with their kitten products, and then their Stay All Day line with their liquid lipsticks and liquid eyeliner. I feel like that's one of the most frequently still mentioned and used products is the Stay All Day liquid eyeliner. And then I know a lot of people liked their liquid eyeshadows as well. But Stila has some kind of identity crisis, and I feel like they initially started as like, we're just going to be a neutral makeup brand that's going to appeal to everybody, and then they had a whole bunch of wacky, colorful things, and then they got rid of some of that stuff, and now they're sort of all over the place again. They don't really seem to have like a clear goal or objective, which I think would really benefit them. So get it together, Stila. The next brand is Studio Gear. So founder Steve Rohr was the original US distributor for MAC during that brand's first 3 years in the US. So they decided to collaborate with professional makeup artists to create Studio Gear, which was sort of similar to MAC in a way, where it was supposed to be aimed towards more makeup artists, but then also people who just liked makeup and had an appreciation and understanding of how to use makeup in a more professional kind of way. The company prided itself on outstanding product quality, a broad selection that includes special colors and textures different from traditional brands, and professional instruction and customer service at their counters. So they were in 5 stores, in Bloomingdale's, in Macy's, and in industrial stores for professionals in Soho. So they were planning to expand to see about 20 different stores by the end of 1995, with sales projected to reach $12 million, which seems a little high, especially considering their lipsticks were like lower end, like $12 and $20 for foundation. This still exists. I've never heard of this brand talked about before. So from their website, I saw that it said, Studio Gear is inspired by our long-standing relationship with professional makeup artists. We have been the backstage secret for more than 20 years. We've covered runways around the world and brought to life the aspiration of designers and artists. Now we help bring your dreams to life as we celebrate the beauty of you. At Studio Gear, beauty has no limits. Your potential is unlimited. So now they sell primarily on their own website. The products look sort of like the kind of things that you would see almost at a discount store. I feel like I would see these sort of things on the racks at like a Marshall's or a Winners, where you're like, oh, I've never heard of this before. I'm not quite sure what this is. I've never seen or heard anybody talk about this brand before. It's interesting that it has ties to MAC, but not a very exciting brand. Also, they consulted makeup artists, but they don't really talk about who they consulted. And the people who founded the brand were more in tune with the marketing and sales side as opposed to like the product creation. So that could have been a hindrance for them as well. And the last brand is Trish McEvoy. So a skincare and makeup expert, Trish McEvoy stresses that beauty today is all about ease and naturalness. So this was designed for like the everyday woman. This was a mix of classic and new colors with sheer textures and long-lasting formulations. So this was middle tier, $15 mascara, $16 lipsticks, $35 foundation. McEvoy emphasized individual style, making the most of one's features with only a few fine-tuned products. So she developed the line in 1975 to fill a void in the market for neutral shades and high-quality makeup tools. Now, this brand still exists. still has a cult following. It's very high luxury. You have like $60 foundations now and $30 plus lipsticks. The brand seems to have matured alongside its customer base with more of a focus on skincare items. So like you have a lot of skincare items that are roughly around the $100 mark. And someone who kind of grew up with this brand, who would be a older consumer at this point, would be more willing to spend that kind of money on their skincare. This is where they are at that point in their life. Just guessing, not everybody, but just in general, I feel like you've seen that sort of growth with the brand to grow alongside their average consumer. I don't feel like this is a brand that's going to necessarily appeal to the young people. Again, it really depends on what you're looking at and what people's personal styles are, but this is very simple, classic, and it's a higher price point, which of course is going to alienate people who don't have that kind of budget, who can't spend $100 on their eye cream and $100 on their serum and $100 on their moisturizer. Immediately you've lost a lot of the people's appeal, and that's some of their best selling products, and even their foundation is very expensive, and people, just younger people, tend to go with things that they know more about and that are easily accessible for them. This is still sold really at high-end luxury department stores, so that's the kind of person it's going to appeal to. The person who's shopping at Saks is the person who can afford those higher-end products. So the article ends with this. A close reading of all this suggests that the traditional cosmetic companies have distanced themselves from their customers and their real needs. The void is apparently being filled by this new group of makeup artist entrepreneurs who now enjoy a growing following of both consumers and retailers who are willing to allocate space to their lines. I'm reminded of that line from Batman, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become a villain, because I feel like that's true in almost every case here. Some brands held to their values and suffered the consequences. Some brands sold out completely and also had to deal with those consequences. Where will these brands be in another 25 years? In my opinion, I think in 25 years, we'll still see MAC and Makeup Forever and NARS and Shu Uemura. I think the rest will be forced to terminate or be swallowed up by other brands. I could see Benefit continuing if it continues to change aesthetics. Stila should swing back to its original intentions and original packaging. Lorac may be successful with a different, smaller, more specific audience. Bobbi Brown will probably merge into Estee Lauder. Honestly, if the sales of their color cosmetics continue to decline, I can just see Estee Lauder sort of swallowing them and using the same formulas to sell the products under just the Estee Lauder label. So hey, people really like this Bobbi Brown lipstick formula. We'll just call it Estee Lauder now. This will be the Estee Lauder line, and that way they don't have to worry about all the issues that come along operating a separate brand. Just my opinion. They might still keep the skincare going because that's going really well, but I just don't see it existing long term, like in another 25 years. But I could be very wrong. Time will tell. I think it's really interesting because we do see a lot of makeup artist brands now. We also see influencer brands and celebrity brands. So it's interesting to think about that comparison. I know people don't like makeup artists to be compared to influencers, but I feel like it really is the modern day equivalent. So while there still are makeup artists and celebrity makeup artists, they become popular because of social media, and in some cases because they are almost an influencer or some kind of similar status. And then you have influencers who act like makeup artists, who have that connection to their audience, who they are selling to directly. So they are able to address those needs in ways that these makeup artist brands currently aren't doing. You don't have small launches at makeup counters. You don't have that one-on-one connection. You have Pat McGrath launching and being sold at Sephora, but you don't have that one-on-one interaction where you have that with social media influencers. When somebody is creating their own brand, they're able to get feedback directly from the people who they are selling to. So I feel like that's really interesting. If you'd be interested in my own take on celebrity makeup artist brands, influencer brands, just celebrity brands in general, like, you know, Fenty and Rare Beauty or whatever, let me know, because I'd definitely be down for doing my own research and for giving my own opinions and my own sort of like beauty forecast, as long as people remember that it's just my opinions and it doesn't mean that what I say is actually going to come to fruition. Because that's the thing with this article as well. I mean, there's no way that the author could have known exactly how this would pan out. She was just using her education and background in order to make predictions and to talk about the brands and the ones that she believed would have the strongest future. So anyway, let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think about any of these brands. Let me know if you would like any more information on any of the brands that I talked about, and I'll make a list in priority order and go through them because I love doing these research videos. Let me know if you have any other video requests, recommendations, suggestions, ideas, whatever you might be thinking of. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I hope we get a chance to chat soon. Bye for now. I need to get some water.